All right, welcome back to Timeout. And here for our last topic tonight, we're going to make a prediction on who we think Rookie of the Year for the NFL should be. Dr. Pepper, going to start with you.
All right, from the University of Oklahoma, at quarterback, number 6, Baker Mayfield. I mean, the kid's a dog. As a rookie, he passed, I know Peyton Manning was second now, and Russell Wilson's third now. Because guess what, fellas? Baker Mayfield threw for 27 touchdown passes, and not now the rookie record for touchdowns in your first season in the NFL. He threw for over 3,500 yards over the season, revived this organization. I mean, they won one game in 2 seasons. I mean, Hugh Jackson was a home. Sorry, he was, and he had an 60% completion percentage. So he had a year just as a rookie, and I think Cleveland found their guy. People, even I, was questioning why they chose him at number one. They could have gotten that number four too, probably. You know, they could have gotten a defensive player or maybe even Saquon at one and then gone with Maker at four. But I mean, it looks like they made a great decision because he's gonna be a superstar, I believe. I'm a big fan of him. You know, a lot of people don't like his antics and stuff, and sometimes it does get out of hand. But I just like his passion, kind of like Russell Wilson. You know, he plays 110% every play. You know, gives it his all, and is a loyal teammate. And I just think Cleveland found their franchise quarterback. And if I was a Cleveland fan right now, I'd be really excited for the future. He led them to what, 7 wins? You know, that's a big improvement. And I'm going to say right this moment, my hot take, the Cleveland Browns will be in the playoffs next season.
Yeah, I mean, they gotta get a coach first, but I do think that the Cleveland Browns. It's crazy saying this because I never thought this would come out of my mouth. The Cleveland Browns job is one of the more appealing jobs for coaches right now. They got a lot of young guys. I'm a huge Baker fan too, Parker. I love Baker Mayfield. I think it was a great pick by them. I had arguments. Yeah,
I had dangerous.
That's the thing. Like I had numerous arguments, pre-draft that, Baker Mayfield was probably going to be the best quarterback coming out this draft, and that the Browns should take him. So I'm glad they did. Glad to see him winning. I think he's going to be a great quarterback for time to come. I think they got to get a coach in there, and they very well could make playoffs here shortly. If not next year, maybe the year after that. I feel like they got a couple stars. They got young guys, evolving. They're going to get better through the draft. They've drafted well here the past couple years. Before that, it was awful. But I think they're on an upward trend. So that's good to see. But my prediction, or, who I believe is the NFL Rookie of the Year is Saquon Barkley. He led numerous fantasy football teams of mine to a championship game. He was basically he kind of was a Giants offense if you think about it, because with as much as Odell sat out this year, and it was like check down Charlie over there with Eli Manning. He had over 2,000 scrimmage yards. One of the only rookies to ever do that all time. He was selected Pro Bowl in his rookie year. Again, that's a huge accomplishment with all the athletes in the NFL right now. So, we've seen it in college. He can get it done anyway. We've seen him, hurdling guys this year in the NFL, making catches out of the backfield, breaking tackles, breaking long runs, even with the Giants' piss poor offensive line. He makes plays. He's a playmaker. So he definitely is deserving and probably will win NFL Rookie of the Year. I do like Baker, but the other guy, I will say this, and I was so impressed with him this year. I wish he carried the ball a lot more and was more involved in the offense. But Denver Broncos, Philip Lindsay, guy was undrafted. Nobody knew his name going into camp. Everyone's talking Royce Freeman, the product out of Oregon. It's going to be Denver's, lead horse, and he's going to get, 30 carries a game, blah, blah, blah. I think Philip Lindsay put a lot of Broncos fans on notice. Again, he was actually second in the NFL in rookie backs, in rushing yards. He eclipsed 1,000 yards on the ground. even that's, he didn't play the last week either. He got hurt. So hopefully he comes back from injury. He's a lot more involved in that offense. I love watching him. He's a speed. He's electrifying back. He kind of has glimpses of Saquon in him where he's breaking tackles, and he's a hard worker, man. He's one of those guys that you just pull for. Seeing him go undrafted and how successful of a season he had this year, he's definitely a guy to watch out for. So if I had to give my honorable mention to somebody, it'd definitely be Philip Lindsay out of the Denver Broncos.
This is pretty easy for me, and it's Saquon Barkley. And I'm here to tell you that Saquon Barkley is the best running back in the NFL right now. He is the next coming of what we've seen since Barry Sanders. He's crazy. If he can stay healthy, he's going to put up crazy numbers, and he'll get the Giants to be probably the best team in that division. Eli needs to retire, and they need to get rid of the coach. So in the next couple of years, the Giants might not be a threat because they keep saying they're going to keep Eli Manning around for what? I have no clue. Eli, you had a hell of a career. It's time to retire, man. Go join your brother in the commercials.
They got to give him a walker pretty soon.
So, Eli needs to go. Get somebody in there that's a little fiery that can kind of keep Odell in check, because it just seems to me like it's almost like Eli needs the paycheck right now. My thing with Baker Mayfield is that Baker Mayfield had a great year. But the award that needs to go to the Cleveland Browns is that John Dorsey, the GM, deserves GM of the year. And the reason is because he brought in some great dudes in the offseason. Jarvis Landry. They made some moves. That defense is respectful now. They get after it. So I'm not ready to give Baker Mayfield that award because I think that because Hugh Jackson was such a bad coach. Don't even get me started. If for whatever reason somebody hires him, but the Browns had players. So I think that if Hugh Jackson wouldn't have been there from day one, they might have made the playoffs this year because John Dorsey, that dude made some moves. So I think that's the award that goes there. But my kind of the sleeper pick, and it's unfair to him, is what stats would a Lamar Jackson put up all year if he was playing on that Ravens team? The Ravens probably have the second best defense. And if he was able to ball all year, I think his stats would be very comparable, if not better, just because his team might be a little bit better than Baker Mayfield's. So I think it goes to Saquon just because he played on probably the worst team. And he just showed glimpses of that he can score a touchdown anytime. And it wasn't just that Saquon ran the ball. He caught a ton of passes, broke that record. Dude is a baller. So, but Baker had a good year as well. Philip Lindsay, I think that's is going to be a steal for them. They got their own problems too, though. I was just telling Dr. Pepper there's a report that John Elway's talking about trading Von Miller. So, I don't know if they're going to hire John Gruden next or what's going on there. So, but
Zach, I got a hot take for you.
What's that?
Well, you just said John Gruden, and Jake the Snake's not on this podcast, but hopefully he listens to this. John Gruden, I seen this on Twitter too. John Gruden should win Executive of the Year for trading away Amari Cooper and Khalil Mack. He made two teams go to the playoffs.
Yeah, the only thing I'm going to say is that I'm going to give Gruden 3 years, and here's why. Because if Gruden truly believed he needed to overhaul the roster, he at least went all in, and he did it.
That's true.
He made his moves. So, but now he has put all the pressure on himself. If it fails, it's all on him.
Yeah.
Because he basically is saying, hey, I got Derek Carr. I'm going to build a roster around Derek Carr. We weren't going to pay Khalil Mack. We didn't think he was good enough for whatever reason. And the Amari Cooper one wasn't as big to me because I wasn't sold that Amari Cooper was what he was supposed to be. Mm-hmm. So to get the first round pick for Amari Cooper, I'm okay with. But getting rid of Khalil Mack, I thought was a little crazy. We see with Chicago, Khalil Mack's probably, if J.J. Watt's healthy, it's a coin toss between who's better between those two. So for Gruden, he's got 3 years. And, coming at probably the end of year 3, we better have seen roster change and them headed in the right direction. But, it's just it's crazy for me. But the rookies, I think the NFL's in a really good place. They had these rookies kind of balled out. You don't talk about them because their team sucked. But Josh Allen, when he played, did some really good things. Yeah. That dude can move.
Yeah. Back to your point about, I totally agree with John Dorsey, I mean, he made some good moves for, he's shored up their defense. They're actually a threat now before they, weren't. Getting Jarvis Landry, that was one of the signing of the season, really. Because when I was watching that Baltimore game, he made some good snags. So he'll be definitely good for him. And tip your cap to Saquon. He's a really talented guy, really fun to watch. He kept the Giants in a lot of games. I mean, they versus the Eagles early on in the year, and he basically kept them in the game. And yeah, they gotta get rid of Eli. But just think, if they get a good quarterback, they'll have a top running back. I think him and Le'Veon would be the top two. One of the top wide receivers if it keeps the drama out of his life. And then you're gonna get a quarterback. I mean, they could be dangerous in a few years for sure. But I'm gonna make another point about Baker. He didn't even start the year. He didn't even start till I think the fourth game, I believe. So I mean, to put up 27 pass touchdowns, who knows what he could have done if he started the whole year? And another kind of hot take. Baker Mayfield will lead the Cleveland Browns to a Super Bowl in his career. I'm not saying it's going to be soon, but in his career, Baker the Big Show Mayfield will lead them to a Super Bowl. You heard it here first, folks.
I think that's the craziest thing I've ever heard. That might be more crazy than Lions fans saying they're going to win a Super Bowl.
Hey, chill.
So, again, the Cleveland Browns, I think, are heading in a better direction than they've ever been, in my lifetime. So, credit to Dorsey for that. But, I'm not sold yet to say that they're a Super Bowl contender.
Why aren't you sold? I mean, I get not being Super Bowl, but why aren't you sold otherwise?
Well, I'm just not sold that Baker Mayfield is a gunslinger and he's gonna make mistakes.
Yeah.
He's not gonna. He's not like Tom Brady is okay with throwing the ball away and punting. Baker Mayfield's gonna think.
Let's chuck it. Yeah.
He kind of has the Matthew Stafford. My biggest thing about Matthew Stafford has always been that Matthew Stafford thinks he can make every throw on the field at all times, and just it comes back to get you. You got to be able to. You're gonna win some. But when you lose them, it's got to be a punt. It can't be a pick six. It can't be stuff like that. So, but Baker Mayfield's really young. But you look at it, I just the crazy part to me is that a lot of people got on the Browns for not picking Saquon. And then, it was just the way. But I think it's gonna work itself out that the Browns picked the right player and the Giants picked the right player. That they both got the right players for where they were at. Because I think if you throw Saquon on the Browns and the Browns have no quarterback, he wouldn't have been that good this year. Because we've seen it before that, I mean, you look at the Jaguars, without a quarterback, Leonard Fournette doesn't do nothing. So I just think you look at both teams are going to end up making the right pick, and, both teams probably took a lot of heat because a lot of people wanted the Giants to pick a quarterback. A lot of people thought the Browns should have picked Saquon. It just was it's crazy. So I think both teams made the right pick, and I just think that the Giants are a couple moves away, really, in my opinion, for being a Super Bowl contender. Their defense is usually decent. Like, if Odell's got his head on straight, they have probably a top 5 receiver. They're just a couple moves away, but I think it all starts with saying, Eli, thanks, pack your bags.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the most underrated things that we haven't really talked about with the Browns is that, they passed up on Saquon and they got Chubb in the 3rd or 4th round, and he was, that you want to talk about a guy that could have been in a Rookie of the Year race if he played all year. And again, credit to Dorsey for drafting him, and then you trade away your running back who you just paid in the offseason, Carlos Hyde, and basically get the pick that you spent on Chubb this past offseason back. So caps off to John Dorsey for pulling that off too, because that was another one of the great trades I think of this season, especially since Carlos Hyde went to Jacksonville and he did absolutely nothing. So and Nick Chubb doing what he did in the second half of the season was, again, they're young. You got Mayfield, you got Chubb. The Browns are going in the right direction for sure.
No, and I mean, I'll even use people I thought gave him crap for getting rid of Josh Gordon, but look, I mean, you got rid of Josh Gordon, they were pretty successful after that, but I think they just cut their ties with Josh Gordon. They said, hey, you know what? If we can get anything for him, let's take it. Mm-hmm. And you know what? We're done with him. I don't want the drama. I don't want to hear about it. We've got the face of our franchise. We're going to move forward. And so I give him credit there because, when you look at it, if Josh Gordon can't succeed with what the Patriots set up for him, like nobody should ever be dumb enough to give that guy another job because nobody's ever going to go to that limit to what they did. So, Dorsey, in my opinion, is hands down the GM of the year. But overall, I think the rookie class is loaded, and it's very possible we're going to be talking about Baker and Saquon for a long time.
Oh yeah.
So that's going to do it for our show today. Thanks for joining us always in Timeout, and we appreciate it. And we'll be back on soon. All right, fellas.
See you, boys.
Hey.